I forgot to wear my earpiece today, so
I had to stop my walk.
yeah. Before we start, I want to send my condolences to Joe Roberts and his family. Joe was the assistant coach for the Warriors for Al Attles on the 75 team. I met him at our parade this past summer, and he's a wonderful guy, and he passed away yesterday. And so condolences to Joe and his family. People may not know this story, or maybe they do, but in that deciding game in 75, Al Attles was kicked out of the game 3 minutes in, and Joe took over. And so he actually coached the deciding game in the Warriors championship in 75. So lived a great life and a wonderful man, and he'll be missed.
Did everyone practice today who was here and available?
Yeah, it's I'm trying to remember who's available, who's not. It's confusing these days, but we had a light day, given that we had a game last night, another one tomorrow. So different. Everyone did something different. It was a heavy day for our younger guys. A lot of review of concepts for them, and for the older guys, it's more individual work. But we had a good day.
Just looking back at the film yesterday, you're talking about turnovers. You guys had 13 in the first half, but none in that third quarter. What was the biggest difference to you?
I think just the intent, the intent to make simple plays. I thought we were trying too hard in the first half to make difficult plays, special plays. And I talk about it all the time. We just got to hit singles. And when we concentrate on that, that gets the ball moving easier. And then the game becomes a lot simpler. And then we can defend out of the half court rather than defending in transition. So much better second half, but our defense still leaves a lot to be desired. So that's the main focus here the next week.
Hey, Steve, there's a perception out there, I don't know how widespread, that regarding the Draymond thing, that you considered the leak a more serious problem than the actual incident. How would you, react to that?
I'm concerned about both. They're both a problem. The incident was a problem. The leak was a problem. I don't rank these things. My job as a coach is to prepare us to play, to make sure we can put the best team on the floor possible. And that job requires a ton of navigation, and it's very tricky. And it's made much trickier, when there is a leak, because then everything's out in the open. So the job is to handle everything behind the scenes with conversations, and then when it's out in the open, answering questions, like this one. But we are going to get through all this, and we're going to be okay. But it's that was a long way of saying they both concern me.
Quick follow-up on that, I guess, is just Draymond said that he didn't know how long he was going to be stepping away from. Do you have any idea or clarity on how much longer?
No clarity. Again, something that we're handling internally.
You talked yesterday kind of about how the group of young guys, it's been really good competition. As far as the two ways goes, we've obviously seen Quindary the last few years. What has Lester done during the preseason, and what are your thoughts right now on him?
Lester's a really intriguing prospect, very athletic, good size, combo guard, good passer, really can finish at the rim. He's an interesting prospect that we liked all summer, and he's continued to perform well here in camp. So, we'll see how it all plays out.
And then for someone like Ty Jerome, I mean, how hard is it to kind of come with only 2-3 preseason games left? How much do you look at what he's done in the past as well with other teams too?
Yeah, Ty is a vet, and I think that was really the appeal for us. He's played a lot of point guard in the league. He's got good size. He's a good passer. We felt like he was a good fit with our roster, and because of his experience, we don't feel like we need to see as much from him. We've seen him live many times.
Dalton kind of walked me right into my question. On that note, what have you seen from Pat Spencer over training camp, and how do you view him?
Big fan of Pat's. Great competitor, great the athleticism in terms of his balance and his coordination and his core strength. Jumps with more explosiveness than I realized. He had to play in Tokyo where he tried to dunk on the whole team and got fouled. And I love that he's a lacrosse guy. I think that sports like soccer and hockey and lacrosse sort of establish a vision that you need in basketball, where you have to see the field in front of you or the court in front of you and see where everybody else is positioning wise. So I think all of those things are really helpful for Pat. He needs to play. He just doesn't have a ton of basketball experience, but he's a really intriguing prospect.
A year ago, you brought in J.K. straight from the G League. Going back to that time and then what you see now, what have you seen in terms of his basketball development and just overall, I guess, outlook and professionalism? What's changed over the last year?
J.K.'s been great. He's had an excellent training camp. Wasn't his best night last night, but his awareness of what we're trying to accomplish offensively, much better. His on-ball defense has gotten really good. Still needs work on off-ball defense and, rotating quicker, being early to help rather than late, that sort of thing. But his approach, his attitude has been fantastic. So I'm really happy for JK and happy with him. And the development continues. It's for guys who haven't played a ton of basketball, it's about reps, and he needs a ton of reps just like James does.
Is there one aspect where you see the development over the last 12, 13 months?
Yeah, I think he's starting to get a feel for what kind of player he needs to be to get on the floor for us. He can't be a ball stopper. He's not really going to be a guy we're going to ISO and, say go create a play. We need him to finish a play. We need him to run the floor. We need him to be a quick ball mover, DHO and dive, be a guy with a lot of energy and athleticism. And when you play off of guys like Steph and Jordan, if you play with energy and quick decisions, then you're going to fall into points and rebounds. So that's what we're looking for from JK.
Hey, Steve, I wonder if you could just kind of talk about the chemistry that you've seen with Jordan Poole and James, working on the pick and roll and things like that.
Yeah, we haven't seen a ton of reps yet. So they looked good last night. There were a couple of really good connections they made. I anticipate that they will play together quite a bit this year. So, we'll keep putting them in that situation, and I think they'll have a good connection just because of the individual skill sets of each. Jordan is a great passer and shooter off the dribble, and James is a really good threat around the basket and above the basket.
Hi. With James missing all of last season and, he was watching a lot of film, he's been picking Kevon Looney's brain and all that stuff. Has he is he where you thought he would be at heading into this training camp and so far with 3 preseason games under his belt, or is he maybe exceeded where you might think he needs to be or where you thought he might be?
I think he's further along than I expected him to be, but a lot of that is because he had a great summer and he's been healthy. He played in more pickup games than any of our guys this summer. So finally getting healthy and finally having a summer with our summer league team, and then working out individually with our development coaches, and then now having a training camp. This is how it's supposed to look. The problem is it was delayed for a couple of years with COVID and the injury. So, I told him better late than never, and he's running his own race and he's coming along really well. So we're happy with where James is.
With Kevon, we've seen him develop over the years, but just in the past maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years, what have you seen from him in terms of his ability to recognize on defense and communicate on defense?
Well, he's been really good for a few years now, defensively with communicating. His first couple of years, he was a church mouse. You never heard him say anything, and now he's one of our loudest defenders, and I mean that in a complimentary way. So he's yelling out coverages and screens, and just letting people know where to be, and he has seen everything now. He's had his 10,000 hours of guarding pick and roll, and guarding pin downs, guarding post ups. So that's why Loon is Loon.
He said that he told me he wanted to. One of his goals was to be on the all defensive team. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a great goal for him. He's a hell of a defender, and in many ways, kind of our backbone defensively. And when he's with Draymond is the wild card, and Draymond's going to sort of roam and make plays on his own, and Loon recognizes that and makes sure he supports him behind him. But he's gotten really good, so we're lucky to have him.
Steve, what have you thought of Clay's progress, just what you've seen from him in practice and workouts?
It's been good. Yeah. It's every day's gone well. Again, it's just a matter of continuing to build up his body to the point where the performance team says he's ready to go.
We've talked a lot in the past about how Andre is kind of an extension of the coaching staff in some ways. How is Steph sort of in some ways maybe an extension of the coaching staff in that locker room?
Steph?
Yeah.
Same way, or in games, Steph will have a lot of ideas about what he wants to run. But in the locker room, he's a communicator. He's a guy who's going to make sure everything's running smoothly. He's been hard at work these last 4 or 5 days, trying to, make sure things are going okay, and, people are healing and all that. So Steph is, he's our guy.
Do you think maybe, again, this may be something you don't want to get into, but you've got 5 guys on this roster that are 21 and under, that, all can be a part of your future. In the wake of what happened last week, do you think there's a need to just sort of check in with those guys, maybe more than you normally would, whether it's you or one of your staff members or whatever?
Well, there's a lot of coaching that's going on. We have a practice format where, the first hour, we call it the golden hour. The vets are in the training room or in the weight room working on their bodies. The young guys are out on the floor going through concepts and getting shots up and going through 5-on-0 and whatever else they need. So we're trying to give them a ton of reps. So we are already giving them a lot of attention, and we will continue that, all year long.
I was thinking more in the case of where their heads are after what happened last week.
Oh, in terms of that. Yeah. I just told them that this is not normal. So that's all I needed to say. Thanks.